During this week's lab, we will be looking at the light spectra produced by atoms when they are excited. We often think of an atom as being a circular object in which the electrons sit on orbitals, the circles around the nucleus. These circles are a bit cumbersome to continue to draw over and over, so sometimes we will just draw the short lines that you see here, representing each one of the circles. When light hits the atom, an electron can move from a lower orbital to a higher orbital. When light is released from an atom, it moves from a higher orbital to a lower orbital. And we say that light is emitted from the atom. This week you will be observing the emissions from incandescent and fluorescent lights, from noble gases in gas tubes, and from flame tests.
For part A, you will be looking at an incandescent lamp and a fluorescent lamp. There are two incandescent lamps, each in a separate hood. You should be able to see this incandescent lamp from near your lab station. You're going to observe the incandescent lamp through the spectroscope. Keep in mind that an incandescent lamp works by heating a filament until it glows, and so this is akin to blackbody radiation and does not produce line spectra the same way that exciting the electrons in an individual gas will. When you begin part B, you will go to one of the three gas tubes that are each in a different hood across the side of the room. You may not go to them in the order that is described in your lab manual, so be sure that you check either the paper in front of it or sometimes written on the tube itself. You will see the name of the gas that is part of that tube. You will need to turn the tube on. It is important that we not leave the tubes on the whole time because this can burn the tube out, and because looking at the tube for too long can be damaging to the eyes. Each of these tubes produce some ultraviolet light, and so looking directly at the tube is not advised. Once you have turned the tube on, take note of the color, write this in the descriptions, and then you will use the spectroscope to look at the tube in order to determine what the line spectra are. When using the spectroscope, you should first find the gas lamp through the slit. The lines may not appear when the lamp is visible through the slit. Then move the spectroscope so that the light is just outside the range. You should see lines appear over where the scale is, and you can record the measurements of those lines. Before you begin part C, you will want to label your glass plate for the chemicals that you will be putting in it. You can place it on a paper towel or a white piece of paper and mark around the edges, or if you prefer, you can take you can label it so that when you place the plate on top of it, the chemical names show through. You will need 2 labeled hydrochloric acid. This is because you will be using this to rinse your wire, and in order to get 2 milliliters, we needed to separate the two. Once you have rinsed 3 of your chemicals in the wire 3 times in the hydrochloric acid, then you will switch to the other well of hydrochloric acid. In your basket, you will find a container of activated charcoal, which you will use in a small amount in order to test the flame test for carbon. And you will find a stick that is labeled with a K for potassium. Potassium doesn't dissolve well in methanol, and so we put it on a stick and so that you could observe it. The other chemicals are dissolved in methanol, which evaporates quickly. So when it is time for your group to do part C, a TA will come around and provide you with the liquids for lithium, sodium, calcium, and strontium, as well as the hydrochloric acid. When you light your Bunsen burner, you will need to adjust the flame so that it's a nice tight blue flame. You can do this by decreasing the amount of gas and by opening up the oxygen. Before performing the flame test, you will want to make sure that your nichrome wire is clean. A clean nichrome wire will either produce no color in the flame or just a little bit of yellow as the wire begins to heat up and glow. If it is producing other colors or sparks, what you will need to do is rinse it in the hydrochloric acid. And it's a good idea to start off doing this anyway. When you bring this back into the flame, initially there will be no color, and then eventually there will be the yellow color from the hot wire. Once you have a clean wire, you can dip your wire in the desired chemical, and then put it in the flame and take note of any color changes. Describe the flame as best you can, but pay particular attention to the color. For the potassium test, hold the end with the K on it and take the other end and place it in the flame. You should see some salt crystals on the stick itself before you put it in the flame. When you are done, close the Bunsen burner's gas valve and also turn off the gas valve at its source.